In the age when steel sang on the fields of Europe and dragon-proud ships carved their fury across the seas, there arose a king whose name carried both awe and dread, Sweyn Forkbeard. They called him Forkbeard for the way his beard split like a serpent's tongue, but to the English, the Frankish, and the Norse alike, he was more than a striking figure. He was a storm given human form. Sweyn was not merely a king. He was a conqueror who dreamed beyond the borders of his Danish homeland. He was the man who seized Denmark, bent Norway to his will, and most astonishing of all, became the first Viking to wear the crown of England. His reign over England was brief. Barely 5 weeks before death claimed him in 1014, but his conquest sent tremors across Christendom. This is the tale of Sweyn Forkbeard, the king of 3 realms, whose ambition forever changed the destiny of England and set in motion the chain of events that would lead to the Norman Conquest. Sweyn was born around 960, son of Harald Bluetooth, the king of Denmark and the man remembered for uniting the Danes under Christianity. But Sweyn was no docile heir. Chroniclers tell us that he rose in rebellion against his father, forcing the great Harald into exile. Thus, even before he became king, Sweyn showed his fierce will, ruthless, bold, and unwilling to share power. By 986, Sweyn was king of Denmark. Yet the Viking age had taught that no ruler could rest with one crown alone. To rule in the north was to sail, to raid, to claim. And Sweyn, true to his blood, sought more than Denmark. England at this time was ruled by Thellard II, remembered to history as Thellard the Unready. His reign was plagued by disorder, betrayal, and endless Viking raids. From the 990s onward, Sweyn Forkbeard turned his gaze to England. He launched repeated attacks across the English coast, his longships burning villages, plundering churches, and carrying off treasure. Thellard, unable to stop the onslaught, tried to buy peace with vast sums of silver Danegeld. But the more he paid, the more the Vikings came. In 1002, Thellard committed a terrible mistake, the St. Brice's Day massacre. Fearing the growing power of Danes settled in England, Thellard ordered their slaughter. Among those killed was, according to some accounts, Gunhild, sister of Sweyn's wife. If Thellard had hoped to weaken his enemies, he achieved the opposite. To Sweyn Forkbeard, this was not merely politics, it was vengeance. From 1003 onward, Sweyn's raids on England grew more savage. Towns like Exeter, Wilton, and Norwich were reduced to ash. He struck at London, though the city resisted fiercely. Still, the English king's coffers drained ever lower as he struggled to pay Danegeld after Danegeld. By 1013, Sweyn had decided it was not enough to raid England. He would take it. With a mighty fleet, he sailed once more, this time not as a raider, but as a conqueror. In the late summer of 1013, Sweyn landed in England with his son Connaught, who was then still young but destined for greatness. The English nobility, weary of Leorid's failures, began to abandon their king. One by one, lords and towns submitted to Sweyn's overlordship. By December, the unthinkable had happened. London itself submitted. Thellard fled into exile in Normandy with his wife Emma and his sons. Sweyn Forkbeard was proclaimed King of England, the first Scandinavian to ever rule the land. For the first time, England bowed not to the house of Alfred, but to the blood of the Vikings. But fate is cruel. Sweyn's triumph was fleeting. He reigned as King of England for barely 5 weeks. On the 3rd of February 1014, he died suddenly at Gainsborough in Lincolnshire. The cause of his death remains a mystery. Some say it was illness, others whisper of divine retribution, a punishment for the desecration of English churches. A legend, likely born of pious imagination, even claimed that Saint Edmund of East Anglia appeared in a vision and struck him down. Whatever the truth, Sweyn was gone just as quickly as he had come. His warriors carried his body back across the sea to Denmark, where he was laid to rest in Roskilde Cathedral, the burial place of Danish kings. Sweyn's death did not end his ambitions, it merely passed them on to his sons. The English recalled Thellard from Normandy, desperate to resist Viking domination. But Sweyn's son, Canute, returned in 1015 to reclaim his father's crown. In 1016, after bloody struggles with Leofrid's son, Edmund Ironside, Canute triumphed and became king of all England. Thus, though Sweyn Forkbeard's reign had lasted only weeks, he had broken open the gates. His conquest paved the way for the North Sea Empire, a realm that bound together Denmark, England, and Norway under his son. Sweyn Forkbeard was a king who lived like a thunderstorm, sudden, violent, unforgettable. His name resounded across Europe not as a pious ruler or a lawgiver, but as a conqueror whose ambition carved a path for one of the greatest dynasties of the age. He was the first Danish king to unite Denmark and Norway under his rule. He was the scourge of Thellard, breaking England with raids and fire. He was the first Viking to sit on the throne of England, even if death claimed him too soon to enjoy it. He was the father of Canute the Great, who would build an empire from the North Sea. Though his reign over England was brief, Sweyn Forkbeard's legacy endures as the spark that lit the Viking conquest of the English crown. Imagine it, the winter of 1014, the halls of Gainsborough silent, the king of three nations lying dead, his warriors stunned, his son left to carry on the dream. For England, it was yet another turn in the wheel of fate, one that would spin ever faster toward Hastings in 1066. And so Sweyn Forkbeard's Saga is not merely the story of one king, it is the story of how the Vikings, the raiders once feared on England's shores, became kings, lawgivers, and empire builders. His was a reign short in days, but vast in consequence. Sweyn Forkbeard, the king whose beard forked like a serpent's tongue, whose vengeance set England ablaze, and whose ambition changed the destiny of nations.